What is the trashiest thing you have ever done? Story 1. Okay, so I'll be honest. When I was like 16, me and my friend went up to this guy that we both thought was really hot for a while at a party. He was a senior, we were juniors, so it was kinda like if we don't do it now we will never see him again, and I told him that we wanted to give him head. He looked really shocked and asked if we were being serious. Then he took us. I had a few shots beforehand which gave me the boldness to ask, and we all three ended up like basically taking turns giving him a lap dance in this like little living room area of the basement, where the party was held like a basement house party, while there was people in there, but we were too drunk to even notice. All the lights were off also. So then we all three went into the room, took turns giving him a blowjob, and he came a lot and it went all over our dresses and chest area. At first we did not know because it was dark until we walked out of the room and someone opened the bathroom door bringing all the light into the room which showed the cum on our dresses. Everyone saw. We went into the bathroom just laughing and in shock about what had just happened, and the cops also came and shut down the party while we were in the bathroom. Story 2. When I was 21, I flew to meet a 48-years-old man. Didn't tell anyone where I was going. Told my parents I was meeting friends from college. We fucked in a few cheap motel rooms as we drove up the coast where he would drop me off at college at the beginning of the semester. On the second to last night I got drunk and yelled at him because I wanted to have sex 3 times in 2 hours, but he could only get it up for 2 of those times. He told me he needed to go outside to make a phone call, and after a while I realized that he had just gone outside and left. So I spent the final night alone and questioning what the fuck I was doing with my life. Thankfully I did not end up on an episode of Dateline because man, if that dude had any murderous tendencies at all, I'd have been dead and no one would have known what happened to me. None of my friends even knew this guy existed. Such stupid and trashy behavior on my part. But my trashiness knows no bounds because I did meet up with him one more time a few years later for another booty call. But this time at least my friends knew his name and contact info. And, no, the sex wasn't even that good. My self-esteem was in the toilet at that age, and he had a way of speaking to me that made me forget that for a few hours. It wasn't bullshit compliments, nor was it nagging nor abusive talk. He just had a way. Story 3. So I had a preschool best friend, we can call him Jay. Jay and I got together for the first time in middle school. One day, he invited me over to his place and his best friend, gonna call him A, was there too. I've never really talked to his best friend much up until this point. So Jay went downstairs to help his parents with something, so A and I started talking casually. Now my catchphrase in middle school was suck my 12-inch dick. Why? Because I was a weirdo. Makes a joke about something at some point, and that's what I proceeded to say because when somebody did that to me, that was my automatic response. A laughs and says no, you suck mine. And insane me took it as a challenge. I told him, oh yeah? You want me to go down that route? His eyes got all wide and he pulled it out. And I proceeded to give him a BJ right there in Jay's bedroom. A few days later, I pulled Jay to the side and told him what had happened. He was furious and of course denied that happened. He didn't talk to me for a long while, same for his friend. Jay and I are still friends to this day though, and we don't talk about that anymore. Thinking back to that as an adult, I shake my head at myself. Story 4. One time my high school boyfriend and I wanted to fuck but couldn't do it at my house, so we took his van and parked down this very poorly lit street right outside a neighborhood close to my house and started fucking. The windows fogged up after a while so we couldn't see very well, and the entire neighborhood watch, equipped with flashlights and accompanied by several children, ran up to the van and started pointing their flashlights in the windows and banging on the car. While I was desperately attempting to find my underwear, my then boyfriend managed to slip his on, hop in the front seat and peel away, without hurting anyone, and take off before cops arrived. That is not the only time I have been caught having sex in public, but I'm proud to say at least I was never arrested for it, and I have learned my lesson and will never have sex in public again. Story 5. Got passed around a whole friend group of like 4 guys. 4 years. Even dated all of them individually. And since we're all hippies, everyone was just fine with it. But these days, I cringe thinking about what validation I must have been needing at the time from pothead guys with dreads who played guitar. None of them were even my type. Stayed sleeping with a friend with benefits of 5 years who treated me like absolute trash. Often forgot I was driving 2 hours to see him and I'd end up at his bar at like 1 a.m. and he'd have to send another girl home that he'd planned to take to his place. He always looked annoyed as heck that I'd shown up, but he asked me to. Half the time I'd show up, he was puking in a bathroom somewhere and I'd have to go pick him up. Other times, he was a gentleman until morning, at which point he just wanted me to leave. One time, I showed up and apparently he had just moved to a month-by-month apartment and we spent until 3 a.m. cleaning that nasty place to be able to just sleep. Ruined our whole plan to actually have sex, so he must have felt a little bad because lucky me got banged up against this nasty brick wall quickly before he passed out. I had no self-respect when it came to this guy just because he was someone I thought I could never get. Respect yourselves, ladies. Story 6. I was 23, solo traveling, and I did a walking tour in Valencia, Spain. At the end of the tour, I got some drinks with my tour group and tour guides and got a little saucy. One of the tour guides was flirting with me and I was feeling like I wanted to do something wild in Europe because I'm in my 20s and wanted to have a wild travel story to tell when I'm older. We ended up leaving the group and hooking up in his apartment a few blocks away. When we were done, I asked him about how many other people he hooked up with and he said probably 40 plus but wasn't sure. After we hooked up I had an hour to catch a bus to Granada where I was meeting up with my best friend. He walked me back to my hostel and then we ran to the bus station and we never spoke again. I don't think we ever remembered each other's names. When I sobered up I was so grossed out I never even told my best friend. So much for a fun story to tell. Story 7. We were fishing on the river which ran parallel to a residential street, with a bit of a walk down a path to the river. I suddenly had to piss really bad, so my plan was to take my boyfriend's car to the nearest gas station. By the time I walked up the path to the car, parked in front of a bunch of houses, I was squirming with urge. Once I sat down in the driver's seat, I had to go so badly I couldn't even move my legs to drive his car because they were twisted into a pretzel trying to hold it. I literally started panicking and crying, desperately looking around the car for a solution, debating just pissing right in the street. Then I saw our cooler. I grabbed it and dumped the contents all over the place as fast as I could, threw the seat back, put the cooler on the floor of the driver's seat and shoved my ass down into it with my legs basically up on the dash of the car. I 100% pissed on the floor of his car, but most of it got into the cooler. I was so embarrassed, panicking, crying, I rushed home, tossed the cooler, scrubbed down and wet-vacked my boyfriend's floor, and made my way back to the fishing spot, and acted like nothing happened. It was definitely one of the most non-violent, traumatic experiences of my life. No more XL coffees on fishing trips.